And the thing that I'm most excited about is like seeing kind of like where, not where the players are, this hockey metaphor, and it's like you should see where the puck is going. Where I see the puck going isn't just cascaded system like ASR, TTS, LM in the middle, and it's definitely not like monolithic speech-to-speech model. But I definitely see the future as one in which like there's fusion approaches to these models, right? The status quo for building text-to-speech models is like you literally get a voice actor in a recording studio and have them read like literally like insane sentences. The smooth canoe slid over the whatever. And, like that doesn't make for a voice that sounds conversational. And so like why do enterprises then start to become early adopters of Rime at the same time that LLMs are taking off? Because they're like, wait, this conversation can feel like a conversation for the first time. As models become more powerful, the data that you can train them on more diverse. Even still, it's really hard to model these things in conversation when you start saying a word and then stop saying it. Or like, how do you transcribe the difference between a sigh and a groan? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that like is very frontier stuff. It's only because we were only able to do that because models themselves became more powerful. That we could like just collect data without a lot of like handcrafting.
Exactly.
We just collect naturalistic data essentially.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. There's also normal water if you want normal water.
Cool.
Yeah, we can get some.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm excited to kick things off here with our Skywatch podcast, a podcast by Blue Jay. And today we have Lily from Rime here joining us today on the podcast. Lily, if you want to just kick things off and introduce yourself.
My name's Lily. I'm the CEO and one of 3 co-founders at Rime Labs. And yeah.
Awesome. And could you tell like the people a little bit more about Rime? I mean, I know myself a lot about it, but yeah.
We train speech models for enterprise voice applications. So today, we are building, training, deploying text-to-speech models for a lot of enterprise CX automation use cases. Like
Awesome.
if you're building a voice application for fast food ordering, these applications are really hard to build for many pieces, but one of the pieces you need is the voice that the customer hears when they call in, and that's what Rime does.
Right. Awesome. And is this pretty fair? Like if I've called like Domino's at some point, I've probably been talking to a Rime voice. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think like there's some percentage of Domino's stores that don't have AI automation whatsoever, but if you got AI ordering at Domino's, you heard Rime. Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Are you able to share how that happened? Or?
I mean, yeah, definitely. So like our customer there, conversational, covers the fast food ordering for Domino's and Carl's Jr. and Blake's Lottaburger and Denny's now. People are calling Denny's. And I'm guessing Hungry and Wanting Grand Slam. And these applications have been in production for a long time, actually. Like, I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And before Rime, they were using Google or Microsoft, I guess.
Gotcha.
Text-to-speech. And the idea is always just like, how do you make these applications better?
Right.
And I mean, one thing I learned is like, so when we started Rime, I didn't know anything about enterprise voice applications. I didn't know, by the way, I didn't know that you could call Domino's.
Okay.
Like that's not something I knew. That back then, this is like pre-LLMs, like Google Dialogflow.
Right.
And like the way that Dialogflow works, and I think this is still like, I'm guessing like vast majority of like enterprise voice applications today, maybe 99%, is like predefined call flows. Right. Like you have like a YAML file that's like, okay, we're going to start by saying this. It's a script. I mean, it's literally a script with like if-then logic, and then just using some, at that point, it's still machine learning to like classify what someone's trying to do and then route them through this like phone tree.
Exactly.
And so fast food ordering is one of the earlier use cases where there was like, in some cases like full automation. That I didn't know. All I knew, is that like these applications should be better.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, certainly.
So I've learned a lot. We started like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We built a recording studio like 3 blocks away.
Oh, really?
So, like, right now we're on Market. And,
that's super cool.
And Van Ness, and like on 7th and Market in the basement of the Oddfellows building, we built a recording studio. And then I just had like a crash course basically.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. And could you tell us a little bit more like how did you get started with Rime? Like I noticed you were doing a PhD at Stanford and you dropped out of that, and then also some linguistics background. Is this something did you always think, hey, like I'm going to be like a tech founder, or did it accidentally happen? Or tell us a little bit about the story.
Definitely accidentally happened.
Okay.
I think most things in my life have happened that I find myself doing them somehow. But it's true. I studied linguistics in undergrad, and
Awesome.
then I started my PhD at Stanford in a linguistics department in 2018. And at that point, I had studied computer science too in undergrad. Like I went to the Claremont colleges, and so
Right.
like I was a Pitzer student, but I was taking computer science classes at Harvard
Gotcha.
Mud. But even still, like I didn't think of myself as a computational linguist. Like
Mhm.
I went to Stanford to study phonetics,
Right.
acoustic phonetics, like
Uh-huh.
the science of like the sounds of human speech.
Right.
But when you're like at Stanford and it's 2019, 2020, deep learning was like in many cases, like for the first time, like I remember when Wave to Vec 2 came out, which is like from Facebook, the speech recognition system. Anyway, point being, it wasn't just that I became like accidentally a tech founder working in speech tech. It was like I first accidentally became someone who was interested in computational linguistics
Right.
just because I was at Stanford as and like my friends were.
Right.
And then I saw how it could be applied to the research questions I was trying
Right.
to answer. And then long story short, I guess when we started, like back in 2022, I knew how important data was because if you look at all the open source speech data sets, they're like horrible. I mean, they're horrible. Unlike, right, like when you're training an LLM and you can scrape like all of the publicly available text content on the internet, it's not doesn't exist.
Right.
And if it exists, it's like even worse than you can imagine.
Right.
Just noisy and background noise and low quality, etc.
Right.
And so our initial idea was like, let's collect data and maybe. And then by the way, at this point, like the word frontier lab didn't exist.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, DeepMind existed, but like, I don't think anyone was thinking about like frontier voice models. And so we quickly realized like the data broker business didn't really make a lot of sense. And so we started training models on top of that data. Long story short, like no, it feels kind of like a fluke that it happened. But yeah,
Super cool.
I
Super
feel like
cool.
at every stage we just became like more of a business.
Gotcha. And so were you attending your PhD with your co-founders, or how did you get them? Like, how did that all work?
My co-founder Brooke, she was at Amazon Alexa, and she moved out. She was a professor at the University of Iowa in the linguistics department, and she's kind of my like fellow disillusioned from academia friend, and she started it in like NLP in the industry at the same time that I started my PhD program. But she's like 5 or 6 years older than me, and so we met because it's a small world of people who are linguist in industry, essentially. And then she had been friends with our third co-founder, Ari's, for a little bit. And I guess it wasn't really until 2021 when everything was going remote and we had been friends for a few years, and then we suddenly became like each other's only friends, like hanging out like 24/7.
Right.
And then we were just like scheming,
Right.
trying to figure out like, what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
And there used to be a time, by the way, when I thought that like didn't make for a very compelling founder story.
Right.
When I felt like kind of insecure, ashamed that like we just kind of like were friends, and it's not like we were like it all just kind of happened. I don't know what else to say. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm just like, yeah, we just like started collecting this data. Turns out the data is really important.
Right.
We started training models. Turns out customers really like those models. It all kind of just happened.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And this you made the decision to drop out before you.
Well, I guess so. Like we were also working our day jobs. Actually, we were like building this recording studio, literally making like daily trips to Home Depot.
Okay.
Like I was writing my dissertation proposal. Ari's was at UCSF.
Right.
And Brooke was at Alexa. And so we're all just kind of working our day jobs. And I think I did at one point have a conversation with my PhD advisor, Dan Lasky, and he was kind of like, have you thought about maybe doing the startup thing full time?
Yeah.
And I was like, I got it. And then I did. And I think it was at that point we incorporated, and then I dropped out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I could technically go back to.
Yeah. I think you're pretty clear in your position now.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. How do you feel like your linguistics background has informed the way you currently build your models today?
Yeah.
Because I was definitely reading some interesting stuff online about like phonemes and stuff like that you guys use, and how you guys differentiate yourselves from that perspective. So we'd love to kind of hear that perspective as well.
I think we lacked, there's a certain way in which we lacked early on some imagination in the way that we thought about modeling, where we were like, okay, we're going to do text to speech, right?
Right.
And like let's start with English. And when we start with English, let's create a dictionary of the phonetic representation, like in phonemes, of as many words as we could possibly do ourselves, essentially. And I don't think this is the approach that someone who's training, it's not like the approach that if someone was training a speech synthesis model today in 2025, they would take. They would be like, let's get as much data as we can, open source or otherwise, and then train a model on top of that.
Right.
But the thing about that, right, is like if you don't have these phonetic representation, then you have very little control over at inference time how the model pronounces. But again, like that's the approach that we took, by the way, was like normal. It wasn't like we were like unique. It just so happened that it was unique. It was increasingly unique at the time that we started training models. And so our approach as linguists is like, in one way, it's like we lacked some imagination about the power of scale, like data scale. But in another way, we got really lucky because when we started selling models to like Converse Now and they're powering fast food ordering for Domino's. Like I tell this story all the time, but it's like just true. Like if you can't pronounce pizza extravaganza right, then like Domino's becomes like not very happy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how it is. Like and so the linguistics background has always been a very fundamental part of how we think about modeling. But again, we weren't unique. Like Google has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just that like we became increasingly unique over time.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. How do you feel like it's shifted with more like, because you guys also power like IVR based solutions as well, and like the TTS behind that. What do you see as like the main differences between both of those technologies when you insert Rime into them? And is there anything?
I mean, I think the big thing is like before, right? Like whether it's IVR, just like pre-recorded assets, or like a more more technologically involved, intent-based phone tree, however you want to call it. Like the thing that's different about that and using LLMs is that with LLMs, you don't know what the voice agent is going to say before it says it. And so the problem of pronunciation becomes even more important. That's one angle. It's like just from like a evaluation and observability perspective. If you don't know that because it, and by the way, like why, I say this a lot, but it bears repeating, like, why was ChatGPT so important? Like LLMs, GPT-3 was in many ways like as capable a model as, it powered ChatGPT essentially. But the fundamental difference is in user experience and the interface. As a chat interface. Like it became conversational. That's really what unlocked. That's the killer app, right? It's like, I hate to say it, but like it's a chatbot, but like a really good one. That's why people were so blown away. And so LLM powered enterprise voice applications should be more conversational. And the status quo for building text-to-speech models is like you literally get a voice actor in a recording studio and have them read like literally like insane sentences. The smooth canoe slid over the whatever, and like that doesn't make for a voice that sounds conversational. And so like why do enterprises then start to become early adopters of Rime at the same time that LLMs are taking off? It's because they're like, wait, this conversation can feel like a conversation for the first time. So those are the two things. It's like, A, you don't know what the bot's going to say before it says it. And B, how do we make this an experience that people like? That I think is like, and of course, too, right? Like it's easier to build, like at the very least a demo with an LLM to power a voice application. I don't think, by the way, but pre-LLM, there was no demo voice application. There was only like a handcrafted production.
Yeah, no, no, I think the demos have definitely become a lot easier to, way easier to make. And now everyone has a voice agent that can apparently automate everything. Without any failures at all. That's super interesting that you said you focus on like the conversational element, and you kind of said like, hey, like, recording these weird, are you basically saying recording these like weird phrases can work to train a model, but maybe not as well? And there's some sort of other conversational like training element that you guys are kind of looking at more specifically to gain some of these more realistic voices?
I mean, it used to be that was the only way to train a model. That was like, these sentences are so weird because you had to create this like text data set of the script for someone to read. And that script had to be like phonetically rich. You had to have all the like very handcrafted, like these sounds in this combination in this order. And like, that should be like representative English phonology, essentially.
Right.
And so as models became more powerful, speech models, right? Like you don't have to do that anymore.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to get a voice actor in a recording studio for like a month.
Right.
Literally, it was like a month or more, 3 months even,
Right.
to train a model. And so as models become more powerful, the data that you can train them on can be
Right.
more diverse. Even still, it's really hard to model these things in conversation when you start saying a word and then stop saying it, or
Yeah.
like how do you transcribe the difference between a sigh and a groan? I mean, this
Right.
is the kind of stuff that like
Yeah.
is very frontier stuff. It's only because we were only able to do that because models themselves became more powerful. That we
Right.
could like just collect data without a lot of like handcrafting. We
Exactly.
could just collect naturalistic data essentially.
Right. And I'm kind of curious. So we have, for example, like customers, that, primarily do English, Turkish, like all these other languages. What are some of the challenges that arise when you guys are building for, because I feel like a lot of people, focus a lot on English voices, but there's like a whole other global arena out there. I mean, India is like a huge market, for example. Like, I'm curious, how do you guys approach some of these like different languages and training for those types of voices and speech and accents and nuances as well?
I mean, it starts with the data. If you don't have, say we have a client who, like, we're selling essentially, we're not building voice applications, right? We're
Right.
selling to
Yeah.
developers, builders of voice applications.
Right.
If they have a client or a prospect in their funnel
Mm-hmm.
that is a financial institution in Singapore,
Yeah.
what are they going to realize? They're going to realize very quickly that there doesn't exist high quality. And by high quality, I mean like, a model is going to wow their
Right.
prospect. Like when they hear it, they're going to be like, wow, I've never heard anything like this before.
Right.
For Singaporean English, right? Singlish.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think we've gotten this a lot. English, Spanglish. It's like very common.
Yes, and it doesn't exist. And then there's all these like follow-on questions too that I've learned to ask. It's like, okay, Singaporean English sounds good. Is it Chinese inflected
Right.
Singaporean English? Is it Malaysian? Right? Is it
Right.
Indian? And like, if you put this demo in front of your large financial institution in Singapore, they're gonna very quickly know
Right.
whether it's wrong or
Yeah. Because they like speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you and I listen to it, we're like, that sounds pretty good.
Good. Yeah. No. Exactly.
And so I don't know, really, like, I think it's the same story with large language models as it is with any models, right? Like, as these models become more and more capable, the buyer
Yeah.
expectations, the end consumer,
Right.
like the person who's going to end up talking to this voice agent,
Yeah.
expectations increase.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's never easy to build a voice application because the minute that something becomes easy, we expect that it can do more than it can do.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that's one of my learnings too, is just like,
It's just always
there's
increasing
always,
in terms of
yes,
expectations.
in terms of expectations. Like the minute that someone has really high quality, demo worthy and production worthy Singlish text to speech, then they're going to be like, okay, but what about this sub accent?
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, how do we evaluate that? I mean, we're lucky that we work really closely with builders who are putting them in front of their customers, for sure.
Right. Makes sense.
And we have a lot of like native speaker annotation too,
Right.
in-house, just like.
This is where you basically like hire, real people
Yeah.
to speak the dialect. They walk through the files and kind of tell you what's going on and what's working. And
This
what's not.
this is the way I learned, by the way, that you can't post a job listing on LinkedIn that says that someone is a native speaker of a language.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why
Which
not?
I can imagine, like, well, it's like a bias thing. Imagine if you're hiring for a role where it didn't matter, but you were like, you have to be a native English speaker.
Oh,
Like,
I
imagine if
see.
you're hiring like software engineers.
Yeah, and you have to. Yeah, I see.
But like,
You need a.
you have to.
So, what has changed in your job?
Like,
Native level. Gotcha. Interesting. And why was there like some pushback when you originally said?
No, it
like
was an automated system. It was.
Oh, it was just automated.
No, we got banned from posting job listings on LinkedIn.
Wow. Okay.
For 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, it's funny. Yeah, it's fine. We honestly were just like, whatever.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And so, like, how does that work? Do you guys have like a full? Do you guys also work with maybe like other vendors in the space that kind of help you with this labeling process, or is it fully done in house for you?
The labeling is all done. Actually, the labeling is done all in house, but we'll collect data.
Gotcha.
Many different vendors for sure. And
Okay.
Now that I say that and someone watches this, I'm gonna get like a ton of inbound. No, I have like data vendor is a very immature market,
Right.
and so way more competitive, I would say, than many other spaces in software for sure. But yeah,
Makes sense.
recording studios in Chennai and recording studios in Delhi, recording studios in rural India,
Yeah.
studios in Jakarta. Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, today we only have English, German, French, Spanish models, but like next week we're going to have Egyptian and Gulf Arabic.
Okay,
We're gonna
that's
have
awesome.
English. Like,
Can you tell me a little? So English would be very helpful for us because we've been asked for that numerous times. What was the process like, kind of developing a voice that like did both? I mean, I also like I lived in India for 5 years. I know how hard it can be, and so
yeah,
I'm curious how you guys approach that.
guys, by the way, like way before I was thinking about speech modeling, because
Yeah.
I lived in Kathmandu, Nepal for 6 months and
Okay.
studied abroad there.
Yeah.
And you're like talking with young people in Kathmandu,
Yeah.
and the Nepali that they speak is like, you know, Hami renewable energy change, innovate Garniparcha, like it's just English basically,
Right.
like 20% English words.
Yeah.
So I realized like this code switching is like the prominent way that many people speak their native language.
Right.
Then it wasn't until I saw like in talking with design partners who are building voice applications in India, and they're like,
Right.
this is what we're sending
Yeah.
to whatever model we're using.
Right.
And it doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound.
What are they sending? They're sending like it's Hindi, but then with like in the Latin alphabet, it'll be like support ticket or
Right.
customer support or even dollar amounts.
Right.
And some of the digits they expect. And how do people native speakers of English do this? I don't really know.
Right.
But they expect some of the numbers
Right.
to be
No, it's completely
read out.
random.
Okay, then it's like crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we expect some of these to be like read 1, 2, 3. We
Right.
expect other times it's like ek dui teen or whatever it's.
Right.
And so you have to like, I don't know, we've been lucky that people were like, here's
Right.
everything we've sent to a text speech API. And then we like go find people who speak English. And we're
Right.
like, okay, we're gonna collect a lot of this, just like a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Invest heavily.
if you need another English speaker, me and my team, we all speak English.
Can you and what about, can you read Devanagari too? Because we've learned this is like, so Solar thinks someone might speak English, but they write Hindi in the Latin alphabet.
I can't. I unfortunately personally can't read.
And so yeah, so then it's like, how do you find these people? Our customers expect to send Devanagari and Latin alphabet to our model.
Exactly.
It's a wild.
And haven't like trained on like how does that work?
I think today like models
Are able to
they
just
make guesses.
inference
Yeah,
and pick it up?
They make are those guesses perfect? No.
No. Yeah.
Like we learn this stuff all the time, and so like you have to just continually ship. I mean, it's just
Right.
like
Iterate and stuff.
I mean, it's just, and that's like the models are so powerful, by the way, that like they can learn from very few examples during fine tuning. But like one thing I learned, I don't know if this is common, but like a customer expects like, when there's something, we would say something and then it has a slash, like one word slash another word.
Yeah.
I would say like that word slash that word, right?
Right.
But maybe certain parts, I'm not really sure, but like maybe it's English more broadly, they would say not slash, but bar.
Interesting.
How do you learn that? I mean, it's just like, you just have to collect that data.
Interesting. And this obviously drastically changes tomorrow. If you want to do Spanglish, you have to have like a whole new arena of challenges that exist there as well. No, that's super interesting. No, it really is. I think this was a good spot to drive to before we go inevitably to Union Square. Yeah. I'm kind of curious. So on the side of like, how are you guys determining like whether you're like from an eval perspective for a lot of these models, like how do you determine like between like releases if it's like dramatically better, especially with like more like non-intuitive things where it's like, hey, like what does the voice sound like? Right. If that makes sense. Like how do you guys judge that? Is that, very subjective or like how does that work?
It is largely subjective, but we have learned, because of course we have in-house annotation.
Right.
Early on, we were like, oh, we'll just use some of our in-house annotators to run comparative evals, right?
Right.
You could think of it like reinforcement learning. It's more just like, is this a good model based on vibes? We quickly learned that if you're paying someone, they're going to say your model's good. Okay. They're going to be like, this is awesome. Like, I've never heard Hindi TTS that's as good as this. And then you put it in front of a customer and they're like, it's okay. And so like we've had to definitely partner with third parties to do the evaluation.
Gotcha.
Because the judgments are themselves a lot.
Right.
Yeah, of course they're subjective, but they're less subjective than if someone's like, wow, I transcribed data and we created this. That's awesome. This is an awesome model. And so definitely, I think if anyone's training frontier models, eval should not be just in-house.
Yeah.
Or else, like,
We have a bias towards that too.
Anthropic trains a model and they're like, yeah, this is awesome. It's like,
Right.
okay, well,
Yeah.
you should be proud of course, but
Yeah.
maybe trust but verify.
Yeah, that's our core thesis at Blue Jay, so that makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of curious, so for Rime, right? What is your? Are you guys solely going to think like company wise focus on only TTS models? Are you also going to move into the STT space eventually? What is your like large vision for like Rime as a company, kind of going forward?
No, I mean, I think for now it makes sense to be laser focused on
Right.
TTS. Like, I also think there's a lot of things that are hard about building voice applications in orchestration.
Yeah.
And in order to solve those problems, it doesn't mean like Rime becoming a provider of orchestration and Rime owning every model, right? Like we own STT, we own LM, we own TTS, and we also have this voice agent platform. Like that, I don't see as
You don't see that as
I don't see a viable way forward to like delivering like product value.
I see.
And I think I mean, everyone's building agent builder. And like my meta commentary there is that I think like people will very quickly realize that there's less value owning the stack than they think there is.
Interesting.
And that there's more competition at the agent layer than there is at the model layer.
Interesting.
I mean, it's crazy, but like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And so, no, I think it's not that we want to stay from a modeling perspective only focused on TTS, but it's
Right.
also like, how can we do something that's unique,
That's
delivers
really good.
value,
Yeah.
that's really good? Because yeah, we could just release an STT model.
Right.
We have STT. Yeah, in fact, we had STT models. And
Okay. Gotcha.
but like building an amazing product
Uh-huh.
is more than just having a good model.
Right.
And selling that product is more than just having a good product.
Yeah.
So it's like really hard problem.
Right.
And so to answer your question, like the thing that I'm most excited about is like seeing kind of like not where the players are, this hockey metaphor.
Right.
And it's like, you should see where the puck is going. Like where I see the puck going isn't just cascaded system like ASR, TTS, LM in the middle. And it's definitely not like monolithic speech-to-speech model.
Interesting.
But I definitely see the future as one in which like there's fusion approaches to these models, right? Like
Interesting.
we don't have to go straight to speech.
Right.
Like look at like Fixie and Ultrabot.
Right.
It's like audio in, text understanding, and then text generation out. And you could do the same thing at the TTS level, right? Text in, text and audio out.
Interesting.
And so that's what most excites me is like from a product perspective, like looking at what developers of these voice applications are doing today.
Right.
Which is often like fine-tuning many smaller language models to do very particular things. Yeah. Why do they do this? Because one fine-tuned model is better at doing that one thing than the generalist model. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's more reliable. You can do like bake into the fine-tuning, like edge case handling, all the stuff. So like that's what really excites me is like how does Rime become a developer platform for fine-tuning these models?
Interesting.
In a world where it's not just ASR, LM, and TTS, but like there's reasoning models that also generate speech. How do you get those reasoning models to generate speech, by the way, that pronounces everything correctly?
Right.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
That's how I think about it.
Gotcha. So basically, it's not only like the current TTS, but also potentially other ways to generate that final speech layer and kind of enabling developers to sort of tune that to their specific needs.
Correct. And in the future where there is like viable enterprise speech-to-speech models, like I think what people don't realize because people don't understand, like even practitioners of machine learning don't understand where things will end up. I'm not saying I know where things end up, but I do think I think about
the crystal ball.
I don't have the crystal ball, but I also think like at the same time, this stuff is not magic.
Right.
It's amazing, right? Software. And it's like, what are developers going to want to do with software? They're going to want to like pick modular pieces and really good, right? Observe them, orchestrate them, and continuously improve.
Right.
And so like, even in a future where there are enterprise ready speech-to-speech models,
right.
There's no world in which like a Sierra or a Decagon or even like innovative enterprise that's building voice agents in-house is just going to be like, all right, that's the model we use it. Now you have an application.
Right.
They're going to want to fine tune it.
Right.
They're going to want to fine tune that speech-to-speech model just to, like in the fast food ordering context, just to handle the address collection portion of the call. They're going to have a speech-to-speech model that's really good at reading addresses.
Yeah. Yeah. No, addresses and numbers and credit cards, the worst.
No, and in particular for like these multimodal models for sure.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. You said something like continuous improvement. Could you talk more about that? Like, what does that look like when you guys are like, is it almost like this, like, hey, like automated thing where you're getting in like new sets of data eventually and you're automatically making the generation model better, or will this be more hand-holdy?
I think it'll be handholdy for the foreseeable future because, like,
Okay.
when you look at like how teams of developers are fixing things today, they don't, because these systems are stochastic, they don't know when something's wrong until they see it. And so, like, in the case of what we describe as hallucination in an enterprise voice application, it's like, it's not really a hallucination, it just lacked context.
Right.
I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but imagine like you're building a voice application for the House of Bagels, right? For ordering. And the LLM is making a guess about the House of Bagels menu, right? And like how that menu works. And maybe it says like, maybe the House of Bagels has this rule for whatever reason that like you can only get lox on an everything bagel, right? But the LLM doesn't know that, right?
Yeah.
And so like they notice something go wrong
Right.
and then they fix it. How do they fix it? Maybe with the prompt and in the prompt and in the knowledge base, or however, but context
Right.
in some way. And so like I really do think it's not going to be automated because like these systems don't have knowledge about the external world in the context. Like we always are going to have to be providing them more context about the problem that we're trying to solve.
But what about for like those like non like context-based issues where like, for example, like let's say it does have all the context about the menu, but it's still like messing up for whatever reason. Like, I don't know, like maybe like to your numbers point, right? Maybe it's not saying the number correctly and something needs to be changed in the underlying model. You need to fine tune it. You need to maybe enunciate the tags or wrap it with tags or
keyword boosting.
I'm kind of curious, like for some of those things, like, well, one, do those problems just go away, like eventually as these models get better? That's like my first question. And two, if they don't go away, is there some sort of automated improvement system that, you know, Rime may help developers build or that developers may build themselves? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually like these models probably will have some context about themselves, like what kind of data they were trained on too. Because you can imagine if you train a model on all the available speech and text data out there, more than we've ever seen before. And in 2027, and this like a highly capable speech-to-speech model that can have a pretty open-ended conversation about anything that it saw during training. Eli Lilly or Gilead creates a new prescription medication, and the brand name is, of course, not something that the model has ever seen. Then it's like, but maybe the model at that point knows, like has something knowledge about like, oh, I've never seen that word. Yeah.
So like knows how to maybe.
But today, like no one's talking about like, I think it's the whole Richard Sutton thing too, right? Like no one's talking about these models learning like we do. They don't learn like we do. They see data, a lot of it, more than we ever see in our lifetime. But that doesn't mean they learn like we do. So like until they learn like we do, and we don't have models that can do that today, then we're not going to have a system that can continuously, we're not going to have a system that can continuously improve without us acting as like the like, no, this is additional context.
Yeah. Interesting. Random question that I've been wanting to ask. Where did the name Rime come from? Like, yeah, how did you guys come up with it? I mean, I have some hypotheses, but I'd love to just hear from you.
I bought a ton of domains.
Oh, really? I feel like you always have to.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of fun. I still buy them to be honest. Like not that I'm thinking about like my next business, but like, it's kind of fun. There's some speculative element to it. I've never like participated in a domain auction. I don't have that kind of capital myself, but it's like.
But you're building a collection.
Yeah, it's like a collection. Yeah, it's a collection. Like, and rhyme was one of them. And what is, we have the English word rhyme, right? Like a word that rhymes with another word.
I assume that's where it was probably from.
Well, etymologically it is, right? Like, the word rime in Italian is like the word for poetry or verse. So it's the same thing, right? Like if you've heard of this Coleridge epic poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, that's a poem. That's like a poem about ancient Mariner. But rhyme is also sort of technical linguistics term for the part of a word that rhymes with another word, right? What is the definition of a rhyme, right? Like the words don't have to be identical, right? Like Commonwealth says, I mean, it does rhyme with Commonwealth, but Commonwealth also rhymes with health. Like that elf part of the word, you can have a linguistic definition of what that is. It's like the final vowel sound in the word, as well as optionally set of consonants of the words. Like elf is the rhyme of the word common.
Interesting.
And so there's this idea about like resonance, right? Like why do we want high quality speech in a voice application? It's because like it makes a better resonant experience, right? Like you feel like I'm having a good experience. Whereas if you heard like, if you called Domino's or you called Chase, you
Yeah.
called the House of Bagels and you heard like text speech from 5 years ago,
Yeah.
you would be like, this isn't an experience I relate with. It's an experience I hate. And
Interesting.
until like that's the vision. It's like you don't want to just call to get something done.
Right.
Like, how do you create a user experience that people relate with?
Uh-huh.
Like
Interesting.
that there's resonance.
And so you've been collecting all these domains. Rime was one of them. Were you debating between any other names when you were naming the
I can't remember anymore, to be honest. Like,
able to disclose some of your
No,
other
no,
domain names? Keep those secret?
I do. No, I mean, like, there's at the end, like the name, very tiny part of the company,
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
I also think so now I want to know about Blue Jay. That's what's
So yeah, no, our name came from, I was at AWS before this. And so, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with like Canaries
Yeah.
software. And so at the time I was working on the Bedrock team on knowledge bases, and we were running Canaries on our software, right? And basically trying to monitor it, make sure it was, working okay. And at the same time, Faraz and I, we were thinking about this whole like simulation based framework to, continuously test voice agents at the time, but also any sort of conversational agent, kind of almost as like a heartbeat. And so we thought it had a lot of similarities with the word canaries. And so we started looking up bird names, and we just really liked Blue Jay.
I think Blue Jay is good because it's a curious bird.
Yeah.
It's an active bird.
We found out later after we named it, apparently sometimes they like fight each other. And so like in the same way, like our simulated agents like kind of like fight your agent, but that kind of happened to be like a stumbled upon meaning later on. But yeah.
And canary, I actually don't know the history of this word in software, canary development environment, but like I'm guessing, someone's gonna tell me I'm wrong, but like I'm guessing that canary is maybe a canary in a coal mine. You know what this?
No, I don't.
So canary in a coal mine is like coal miners used to bring down a cage with a canary in it. And I guess canaries are more sensitive to like carbon monoxide than we are. So if a canary died, they know they have to leave.
Interesting.
Blue jay is like the opposite though. It's like, it's out there. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's like canary.
Yeah, you just found another meaning for us. This is great. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. That's super cool. That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway, the naming is like very secondary. You want something that's memorable, but there's also just like, it's crazy. Some of the largest companies, most successful technology companies in the last 30 years, you look at the name and you're just like, really?
Really?
I don't want to name names, but like,
you're not going to expose anyone.
They're successful. I don't care.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. Switching gears a little bit. Biggest challenge right now in TTS, in your opinion, and how is Rime solving it or going to solve it?
Like, I think anyone who's building models would probably say this, but I think in particular for speech synthesis.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't come as a surprise to anyone who's like been building speech synthesis models for a long time, but there's like such a trade-off between the expressiveness of a model and controllability of the model today. I truly think like it's not like this is an unsolvable problem. The only way forward, and by controllability, I mean like the things we've been talking about, like controller pronunciation, these kinds of things, like when a pause happens, all this stuff.
Probably.
How slow numbers are read.
Yeah.
Right? And I think like the only way forward is like by collecting a lot of data and labeling that data in a very particular way, and with some amount, but maybe an ever decreasing amount of like linguistic knowledge and know-how and hard work. So that trade-off is always going to exist, but like, I don't know. And it's just going to require a lot of hard work to like minimize the impact of that trade-off.
Interesting. Gotcha. And so it's basically this balance between like how well you can control the voice, but also how expressive it is.
Yeah. And two, like how fast can you ship a model? Cause like when we ship Arabic, for example, next week, it's not going to have like the level of pronunciation customizability that's built into our English, German, French, and Spanish models.
Right.
And it's going to take some time to like build the deterministic layer on top of the model so that developers have that level of control.
Right.
But it's also like there doesn't even exist a high quality Arabic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you don't have to solve every problem out of the gate. And again, like as these models become more capable, our expectations of them will
also
ever increase.
increase.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be never ending.
Yeah. Do you feel like all of these other markets are like, I mean, I think the answer is yes, but like these markets are like kind of underserved, right? Like the global market in terms of like TTS models that are available to it.
I mean, it's not just TTS, like
Just in general.
just in general, because
Yeah.
like I'm like, given what we've learned about data collection
Right.
and like collecting really high quality, both naturalistic and also scripted speech data for training models. Like one thing we learned is like even the most capable, largest commercial large language models are really bad at translating English to Arabic. And so like sometimes I tell our partners this, like you have to realize, by the way, that like when we give you like what we're going to give you is like the highest quality colloquial Gulf Arabic TTS model in existence, like you're going to have to worry about a lot of other stuff too. And you're going to have that before you have an LLM that can generate really convincing colloquial sounding Gulf Arabic text.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super interesting. I think last time we met at the Rasa event that you guys hosted with them, I was talking to you about this interesting use case, which we've still been tinkering around with, but I'm kind of curious to get your take on it. One of our customers is like a language tutoring business. And basically what we need to do for them is from a simulation perspective, we need to do the opposite of what a TTS is meant for, which is like, hey, like we need to have like on the Cepher scale on language learner simulation. Yeah. Where, they're not speaking correctly, they're taking a lot of pauses, they're mispronouncing words intentionally. And so it's funny, we were doing like a lot of work around generating incorrect phoneme values for specific words and then feeding it in to TTS models to see if it would essentially mispronounce things intentionally. Very interesting experience, but I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on how you would approach a problem like that.
I mean, there's so many problems like this that I think probably require dedicated models.
Interesting.
Like I was talking with another builder of a similar voice application for language, like just instruction.
Right.
And like even getting a TTS model to say like, okay, so you're teaching English, right? And like English has suffixes. One of them is ing. Another one of them is like tion. But we wouldn't say tion. We say like the shun suffix.
Yeah.
But like try getting a TTS model to say shun when you send it tion.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have a knowledge about like the very unique knowledge that we have that's pronounced shun and not tion or whatever.
Right.
I mean, when we put it in a word, we know it's pronounced not as tion. Anyway, point being, like, they were asking me, like, can Rime do that natively? And I was like, no, like, no, I can't. I mean, I could. I mean, you'd have to like do a lot of like really janky stuff. And so they were kind of like, yeah, I think we're going to train our own model. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
This makes me kind of wonder, like, what's like some of like the craziest requests you've gotten, if you're able to share, in terms of like stuff from like a TTS model?
I mean, that might be up there, to be honest. Like, very rarely do people come with crazy requests. They come with like very normal requests. Okay. Like, because no model is perfect. And what people want is like very understandably, like something that really works well all the time, that's fast, that's reliable, that's consistent in its pronunciation, it's controllable in its pronunciation. That's like 99% of, what customers come to us and
Absolutely.
ask for, right? And it's like very normal that they would ask for those things. And so, I mean, people do like want a lot of stuff that just models can't do today too. Like they want it to be able to on the fly without either prompting or passing some API value, like knowing to sound angry, knowing to sound excited. And it's just like, if we built that, it would not sound how people, I think, want to sound in their head.
I see.
So I don't know. I feel like that very, very rarely do people come with something I haven't heard before. But that TION example is one of them.
And when you guys are building, is the goal just to sound exactly like a human, or do you envision a world where like these voices, because like it's kind of interesting. When I call CVS, for example, it doesn't sound like as human-like, but it sounds very like formal, very like, I mean, it does have a warm greeting and feeling to it. And so it's like, okay, they've clearly put effort into trying to, I mean, it sounds a little robotic, but like you still get this like almost like higher grade sense sort of from the voice. I'm kind of curious, is the aim here to be like, hey, I want to sound exactly like a human and that's the goal I'm going for? Or is there some arena where it's like, hey, no, a lot of these large enterprises want to sound like maybe like a very sophisticated
Yeah.
human that's not how you normally talk,
Yeah.
but or how a normal rep may talk, but some sort of
Yeah.
sophistication on top.
I think that's like the most wild thing about speech models now is that you can have a model that truly sounds like a customer service rep, but then
Right.
like an actor. And at the end of the day, like if you put that demo that sounds like the most bored customer support
Yeah.
rep that you ever had, like I don't think anyone's buying that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but I've always had this like when I'm having conversation with customer, I'm like, and we have customers by the way who put these really bored sounding customers
Yeah.
customer support rep voices into production, and what do they find? Overwhelmingly more successful than the polished voices.
With the ones that are more dull sounding,
Yeah.
that sound
Overwhelming.
because that was gonna be my next question, right? It's because like a buyer, I feel like may want this like really
Yes.
sophisticated sounding voice,
Right.
and then when I actually call and I
Right.
hear the sophisticated sounding voice, I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound like a rap.
I automatically am like, this is a form that I'm talking to.
Right, like transfer me to a human, and so it's interesting. You almost have to then educate your buyer and basically say, hey, like actually you want the dull sounding rap.
No, I know, but like we're not often selling to like directly into enterprise. We're selling to like the application. And so if I tell someone that, like they're like, okay, love it, that's a great idea.
When I go and because makes sense.
When I go and I'm like, actually, you want the most bored, like, dull sounding voice ever. And that's going to like result in the highest level of automation and indeed customer like satisfaction. They don't believe you.
Yeah.
And so like, I think it's just a matter of time though, before consumer expectations about these things change.
Interesting.
Such that like you call, it's like talking with a rep, but like it handles everything that you want it to handle, right? Like fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was really nice.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
That's not going to be like the professional sounding voice. I don't think.
Cool. It looks like we're almost here. I like to end with one question, which is if like very casual question, if Rime had a mascot or some sort of emblem, like an animal, like what animal would Rime represent?
Maybe a blue jay. Animal, a mascot. Well, I'm kind of a cat person. So like cat, but that's only because I like cats. I think if you ask anyone else, I'm gonna. That's not a unilateral decision, but that's the tip of my tongue today. Is I like a cute little bookstore type cat.
A cat it is.
Awesome.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Lily.
Thank you.
Appreciate the hopping in the car with me today, and super cool having you.
Thanks so much.